To me, that's inspirational, whether it, just listening to Caitlin, her work ethic, it was important to her. And I mean, she's just starting, her round of golf, if her journey. I
was trying to think of who else maybe could play today, especially in women's sports, that would.
What if I told you that one athlete in a single day could shatter the very definition of a superstar? This isn't a hypothetical question. It's exactly what happened when Caitlin Clark, the woman who rewrote basketball history, stepped onto a golf course and did the impossible on a breezy Friday morning in an event no one expected to become legendary. Clark didn't just play a round of golf. She sent a shockwave through the entire sports world, leaving icons like Tiger Woods absolutely speechless and Steph Curry publicly stunned.
Yeah. All roads lead to the Annika Pro-Am. Trust me, all roads, all cameras, all people will be tuned in for the Annika Pro-Am. Why? To see the GOAT, Caitlin Clark, take over the show.
But as the golfing elite rushed to welcome her, a deafening silence came from the very place she called home, the WNBA. Her rivals, Yao Wilson and Angel Reese, had nothing to say. So right now, I want you to think about this. Did Caitlin Clark outgrow her competition so completely that they simply couldn't bear to watch her shine? Let me know your theory in the comments below. It all started at the RSM Classic Pro-Am. Traditionally, this event is a relaxed, celebrity-filled warm-up, a casual exhibition where the stakes are low and the mood is light. But the moment Caitlin Clark's name appeared on the player list, that tradition was obliterated, replaced by a media frenzy the golf world rarely sees outside of a major championship. The news spread like wildfire across social media, turning a niche sporting event into the main event. Hours before sunrise, fans began lining the course, some having driven through the night just for a chance to witness history. The energy was palpable, a mix of curiosity and unwavering belief from her loyal supporters.
Every media outlet is covering this, and you don't say anything. That's what we were talking about this whole season. We were correct. The fans that were saying that the WNBA seems to be trying to quiet the noise of Caitlin Clark, not letting her shine to her full.
Tickets sold out in minutes, becoming the hottest commodity in sports, with resale prices skyrocketing to levels typically reserved for the Masters final round. The scene that unfolded was unprecedented. For the first time in the tournament's history, the crowd was a sea of Iowa black and gold and Indiana fever blue jerseys. There were more Caitlin Clark jerseys than traditional golf hats or polo shirts. Vendors were reportedly caught off guard, selling out of Clark-related merchandise before the first group even teed off. The atmosphere wasn't just excited. It was electric, charged with the anticipation of witnessing something no one had ever seen before, a crossover moment that transcended sport itself, when the announcer's voice echoed, from the University of Iowa, now representing the Indiana Fever, "Please welcome Caitlin Clark." You could feel the entire course hold its breath. It was a collective pause, a moment of recognition that they weren't just watching an athlete, but a cultural phenomenon stepping onto an entirely new stage.
Business is booming when Caitlin is involved. Pro-Am tickets are $25, and event organizers saw demand increase 1,200% for the Pro-Am because of Clark, one of the most popular figures in the sports world. 1,200%. Oh, it's because of me too. No, it's not. No, it's not.
This was no longer just a golf tournament. It was the Caitlin Clark Show. Every person in attendance knew they were about to witness something that would be talked about for years to come. Then came the moment of truth, her first drive. The air was thick with tension, the kind usually reserved for a sudden death playoff. As she stepped onto the tee box, thousands of fans fell into a hushed silence, a reverence so complete you could hear the gentle wind brushing through the grass and the distant call of a bird. All eyes were locked on the young woman in a golf skirt, a basketball star holding a driver. She moved through her pre-shot routine with a focus so intense it seemed to block out the entire world. Then, with a swing that was both powerfully athletic and surprisingly precise for a newcomer, she connected, the crisp, explosive crack of the club meeting the ball echoed like a thunderclap across the pristine green, a sound that signaled the arrival of a new force. The ball launched in a perfect, powerful arc, a white missile streaking against a clear blue sky. It sailed through the air with a seemingly predetermined purpose, landing cleanly beyond the 270-yard mark, a distance that would be impressive for any seasoned amateur, let alone a rookie to the sport. The crowd erupted in a wave of pure, unfiltered joy and shock. Reporters scrambled for their phones, desperate to be the first to break the news. Camera flashes lit up the course like 1,000 paparazzi.
Like the W, just the presence alone of Caitlin Clark, they understand what that could do for their sport. They understand that, let's say 1,000 new eyeballs, 10,000 new eyeballs show up. If only they could get a fraction of those new eyeballs to become fans, they understand that's a win.
Tiger Woods, watching from the sidelines with a small, knowing smile, was seen with an expression of pure admiration, a silent nod from one legend to a potential successor. Steph Curry later remarked, "It was the best first swing I've ever seen." High praise from a fellow basketball golf hybrid athlete that carried significant weight. Almost instantly, headlines from Golf Digest and ESPN flooded the internet, describing her as a natural crossover talent and declaring that she had just changed golf forever. Yet this immediate and overwhelming praise from the golf world stood in stark contrast to the treatment she had received throughout the WNBA season, a league that, some argued, appeared more interested in quieting her influence than amplifying it. This juxtaposition was not lost on anyone observing the moment. It marked the point where the story took a distinctly controversial turn, as the golf world celebrated her triumph with memes, highlight reels, and viral admiration.
Clark's name affiliated with the event. They know the pub that is gonna bring and everything that's gonna come with it. So obviously they're gonna do what's best for business. Unlike the WNBA, let's be clear here. It's just so funny, and I said this in a video before.
Two very specific voices from the basketball world were conspicuously and deafeningly missing: Aya Wilson and Angel Reese, who had been so vocal and pointed during the WNBA season, offered not a single word of congratulations on any of their social media platforms. This wasn't just a minor oversight. To many, it confirmed a pattern that had been brewing for months. A Cold War played out in the press and on the hardwood. Throughout the season, Clark was subjected to a physical gauntlet of hard, flagrant fouls, some of which were later upgraded by the league after review, and was publicly labeled as privileged in a way that seemed to dismiss her hard work and talent. She was often a target of intense personal trash talk, all while some fans and analysts felt the league itself failed to promote her historic, record-shattering rookie season with the enthusiasm it deserved, often focusing on collective efforts over her individual draw. The silence after her golf triumph felt like the final, damning piece of the puzzle. It was as if her success in another sport, a domain where her pure athleticism was undeniable, was the ultimate proof of her unique, transcendent stardom, a stardom that some of her peers in the league seemed unwilling to fully embrace, or perhaps even felt threatened by. Fans who had argued all season that there was a deliberate, coordinated effort to humble Caitlin Clark now felt vindicated, their theory supported by this telling silence from her most prominent on-court rivals. Meanwhile, the reception Clark received from the golf community could not have been more different, creating a tale of two sports. While she was often treated like an outsider in her own league, a rookie who needed to be put in her place, she was welcomed as royalty on the green. LPGA superstar Nelly Korda, the #1 player in the world, personally walked up to Clark on the practice range and told her, "You're welcome here. You belong here," a gesture of inclusion that spoke volumes. Another top player, Maria Fassi, told reporters, "Caitlin's energy is pure. She brings a fire we've been missing," highlighting the positive impact Clark could have beyond ticket sales. This wasn't just politeness. It was a sharp, strategic recognition of her generational star power and its immense potential to grow the game. The golf world, often seen as staid and traditional, understood the business tsunami she could bring. They saw the concrete, undeniable 1,200% spike in ticket demand, and knew that even a fraction of Clark's millions of fans could become new, dedicated followers of golf, buying merchandise, watching broadcasts, and attending future events. Unlike the WNBA, which critics say fumbled the bag by not fully capitalizing on her arrival, the PGA and LPGA saw a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and proactively rolled out the red carpet. They saw a rising tide that could lift all boats, and they chose to celebrate it, a business decision that also felt like a genuine embrace of a special athlete. But the true history-making moment, the one that would cement this day in sports lore, was yet to come. The stage was set on hole 7, a challenging, lengthy par that featured a narrow fairway and a well-guarded green, a hole even seasoned PGA pros sometimes struggled to conquer, often leading to bogeys or worse. The crowd, still buzzing from her earlier drives, once again fell into anticipatory silence, the pressure mounting with each step she took toward her ball. Clark, displaying preternatural calm, lined up her shot, eyes fixed on a target far in the distance. She took a deep, visible breath, a moment of complete concentration, and swung. The contact was pure. The ball soared, a perfect white against the vast blue sky, its trajectory flawless and powerful, drawing gasps from the audience as it flew. It landed on the front of the green with a gentle, promising thud, and then, as if guided by an invisible hand, it began to roll and roll and roll, tracking directly toward the pin and coming to a heart-stopping stop mere inches from the cup. A tap-in birdie that felt more like an eagle. The gasps in the crowd turned into a roar of pure disbelief and admiration, a collective release of awe. When she finished her round, the scoreboard told an unbelievable story. 13 under par. Caitlin Clark had not just played well, she had shattered the previous Pro-Am record, posting a number that would have been competitive in the main tournament. The business impact was instant and quantifiable. Event organizers revealed that demand for Pro-Am tickets, usually low-cost and easy to get, had exploded by 1,200%, solely because of Clark. Tiger Woods, analyzing the shot later, called it one of the cleanest, most confident swings I've ever seen from a non-pro. The ultimate seal of approval from the man who redefined the game itself. With this historic achievement, the public narrative surrounding Caitlin Clark underwent a permanent and dramatic shift, a seismic change in perception that played out in real time across the digital landscape. Social media didn't just buzz, it exploded into a full-blown cultural moment. Caitlin Clark Golf trended #1 worldwide on Twitter. But that was just the beginning. Instagram and TikTok flooded with clips of her swing, the crowd's roar, and that near-miraculous putt on hole 7. Memes comparing her to iconic multisport athletes like Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders went viral. Sports analysts on debate shows pivoted from their usual topics to dissect what this all meant for the future of athletics. The ball soared, a perfect white against the vast blue sky, its trajectory flawless and powerful, drawing gasps from the audience as it flew. It landed on the front of the green with a gentle, promising thud, and then, as if guided by an invisible hand, it began to roll and roll and roll, tracking directly toward the pin and coming to a heart-stopping stop mere inches from the cup. A tap-in birdie that felt more like an eagle. The gasps in the crowd turned into a roar of pure disbelief and admiration, a collective release of awe. When she finished her round, the scoreboard told an unbelievable story. 13 under par. Caitlin Clark had not just played well, she had shattered the previous Pro-Am record, posting a number that would have been competitive in the main tournament. The business impact was instant and quantifiable. Event organizers revealed that demand for Pro-Am tickets, usually low-cost and easy to get, had exploded by 1,200%, solely because of Clark. Tiger Woods, analyzing the shot later, called it one of the cleanest, most confident swings I've ever seen from a non-pro. The ultimate seal of approval from the man who redefined the game itself. With this historic achievement, the public narrative surrounding Caitlin Clark underwent a permanent and dramatic shift, a seismic change in perception that played out in real time across the digital landscape. Social media didn't just buzz, it exploded into a full-blown cultural moment. Caitlin Clark Golf trended #1 worldwide on Twitter. But that was just the beginning. Instagram and TikTok flooded with clips of her swing, the crowd's roar, and that near-miraculous putt on hole 7. Memes comparing her to iconic multi-sport athletes like Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders went viral. Sports analysts on debate shows pivoted from their usual topics to dissect what this all meant for the future of athletics. The conversation was no longer confined to basketball circles or even golf enthusiasts. It captured a mainstream audience, people who might not know a birdie from a bogey, but understood the magnitude of a superstar transcending her sport. And in the midst of this global celebration, a specific, telling detail was spotlighted by the fans driving the online frenzy. They noticed that Aya Wilson, on that very same day, had posted an Instagram story, a brand collaboration. With no mention of Clark's groundbreaking feat, the contrast couldn't have been more stark or more damning in the eyes of the public. While one woman was being hailed as a generational talent on a global stage, the other was engaged in routine influencer marketing, a business-as-usual approach that felt profoundly out of step with the historic moment unfolding in the sports world. The comments on Wilson's post and across various platforms flooded with criticism. "Why can't you be happy for her?" And "Caitlin is making history and you're silent," were among the most common refrains. But the sentiment went deeper. Fans began connecting the dots, compiling timelines of past interactions, perceived slights, and the physical on-court treatment Clark had endured all season. This single act of silence was seen as the final confirming data point in a season-long pattern. For the first time, the court of public opinion was decisively and overwhelmingly in Clark's favor. The story was no longer about a talented rookie being initiated into professional ranks through hazing. It was about a global phenomenon being validated outside the arena she was supposed to be confined to. The golf course had become an impartial judge, and its verdict was clear. Caitlin Clark's talent was so immense it couldn't be contained by a single game. The silence from her WNBA rivals, which might once have been seen as competitive gamesmanship, was now viewed through a different lens. It wasn't seen as a slight against Clark anymore. It was seen as a reflection on them, a sign of pettiness, jealousy, or stubborn refusal to acknowledge a reality obvious to the world. The narrative flip was absolute. The underdog story some tried to craft against Clark, painting her as overhyped and privileged, had completely evaporated. In its place stood the story of a singular athlete, celebrated by legends from other sports, while those closest to her professionally could only offer silence, a silence that spoke volumes. This moment cemented that Caitlin Clark wasn't just playing a different game on the golf course. She was operating on an entirely different level of stardom, one her detractors in the WNBA simply could not, or would not reach. So what does this all mean? We are witnessing something far greater than a talented athlete having a good day in a different sport. We are watching the birth of a new archetype in athletics. Caitlin Clark is no longer just a basketball player. She has transcended that title to become a cultural force, a movement all her own. She represents a shift in how we perceive greatness, proving it isn't a narrow path, but a vast, open field. From the deafening roars of packed college arenas to the sold-out WNBA games that shattered attendance records, and now to the record-breaking reverence of golf greens, she is systematically rewriting the rules of what a female athlete can be, and more importantly, what she is allowed to be. For decades, female athletes were pressured to specialize, to stay in their lane, and not rock the boat. But with a single swing of a golf club, Clark didn't just hit a ball. She swung open a symbolic door for every young girl ever told to stay in your lane. She proved that true generational greatness is inherently disruptive. It cannot be contained by a single sport, cannot be forced into false humility, and will not be silenced by jealousy or institutional hesitation. Her journey is a living testament to relentless ambition, a case study in how undeniable talent, when paired with fearless work ethic, can shatter ceilings we didn't even know existed. Think about the message this sends to the next generation. A young girl can now look to Caitlin Clark and see not just a basketball hero, but a figure commanding respect across the entire sporting world. She sees an athlete celebrated by Tiger Woods and Steph Curry, welcomed by Nelly Korda, and discussed on financial networks for her staggering economic impact. This expands the dream itself. It's no longer just about making it to the league. It's about realizing that your potential is limitless, that your identity as a competitor can transcend boundaries. The Clark effect is now a tangible phenomenon beyond basketball, a 1,200% spike in ticket demand, global trending topics, and golf clubs flying off the shelves as young fans rush to emulate her. This isn't just fandom, it's a cultural awakening. The question now hanging over the sports world isn't whether she'll dominate the basketball court. That feels inevitable, but whether she'll pursue golf seriously. Will she, fueled by this success, begin formal training with golf pros in the WNBA offseason? Could we see her accept a sponsor's exemption to play in a future LPGA event, drawing a television audience that would shatter all previous records? The speculation doesn't end there. If she can conquer two sports so decisively, what's to stop her from trying a third? Every brand, league, and marketer now sees her as infinite potential. The WNBA's handling of her rookie season will face even harsher scrutiny. Was their reluctance to embrace her stardom a historic miscalculation? Did they fail to recognize the wave they were sitting on, a wave other sports are now eager to ride? The contrast between her reception in the WNBA and her royal welcome in golf will be debated for years, a cautionary tale about whether institutions are ready for a superstar of this magnitude. One thing is certain, the world is only beginning to see what Caitlin Clark is capable of. This Golf Pro-Am was not an ending, it was a revelation, a proof of concept. If this record-breaking performance in a brand new sport was just her first swing, then the future she's building will be absolutely breathtaking. We are on the verge of a new era, where an athlete's influence doesn't end with her sport, but ripples outward, lifting entire industries and redefining what's possible. Caitlin Clark stands at the crossroads of sports, culture, and business, and every path forward looks revolutionary. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think she'll do next? Will she seriously pursue golf? Or was this a one-time showcase of her insane athleticism? Do you think the WNBA's handling of her was a massive miscalculation? Or will she become a true multi-sport free agent? The comment section is open. I read every one of your thoughts. If you believe we're witnessing history in the making, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. The next chapter is coming, and you won't want to miss it.